my life that I was able to later draw on to not only find out what my transformational magic power was, but also what I used then to become the foundation of a number of thriving businesses. The first moment happened when I was 24 years old, and what I took away from that moment was a tremendous conviction that human beings can transform themselves no matter how badly they're stuck. And boy, was I stuck at the time. I was 24 years old. I'd been obese kind of since I was a kid, and at that point, at age 24, I weighed over 300 pounds, about 320 pounds. And like this morning, I weighed about 189 pounds. I'm a little over 6 feet tall, so that's pretty good weight on me, but I can tell you that 320 pounds on me was like living in hell. And I also smoked heavily, Marlboros, 2 to 3 packs a day, and I also wore very large, thick glasses, and I was also in a marriage that I'd been in for a year or two that was not going well, and ended up lasting 3 or 4 miserable years before we called it quits. And I also had a job that I was very disenchanted with, a car I didn't like. So in other words, everything was kind of imploding in my life at age 24. And I see now in retrospect that I was living my father's life in the sense that he died at age 32, grossly obese, heavy smoker, in a not so good relationship. And so I think unconsciously I was trying to replay his life kind of without knowing it. But that's getting ahead of the moment. What happened was I went out for a walk one afternoon. It was a cold winter afternoon, and I had just had an argument, and I was trying to kind of clear my head, and my feet, it had just snowed, and there was some snow covering a patch of ice, and I stepped on it accidentally, and my feet shot straight out from under me, and I smacked the back of my head on the ice. And now, even 40 years later, I still have a little knot from it. But I learned a lot from it. And what happened was it almost knocked me out. It didn't knock me out to a point of blackout, but it knocked me almost out to the point where I didn't actually feel any pain, but I felt an incredible sense of clarity inside me. I think it sort of knocked me out of my old personality kind of for a few minutes. And what I saw during that couple of minutes as I was laying on my back on the ice was I saw down through all of the levels of me. I saw that there was a level of tight muscles, and that those tight muscles contained all of this feeling in me that I didn't know how to feel, like things I was scared about, things I was angry about, things I was deeply sad about, things I wanted that I didn't know how to fulfill. And so I could see down through all of those levels, and yet at the bottom of it all, at the center of it all, there was this vast, clear, open space that didn't have any programming on it. And that moment is indelibly imprinted on my being, because that was a big discovery for me, that there was something beneath all of this body and personality and all of these things I didn't like about myself. There was this space of purity and clarity, and it was there for the taking. It was there all the time, but I hadn't seen it because it was so obscured by all my layers of resistance and my 320-pound body. And so in that moment I began to come back to awareness, into my regular awareness. And I felt a sense of despair because I was coming back into that same 320-pound body that had fallen on the ice. Nothing had really changed, except I said one thing. I had this one little thought. I felt that despair of coming back into myself, but I also hatched a thought which went something like this. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I make a commitment to living so that I can feel that pure consciousness all the time in my awareness. And I don't know where that thought came from, but I said that, and I felt it. I felt a heartfelt commitment to that. And so the next thing that happened, I went back home, and the very first thing that happened the next day that was hugely different in my life was that I began to look for some kind of food for breakfast that morning that would feed that spiritual place in me that I'd found the day before, that would feed that pure state of consciousness, that would help me feel it more, because I could still feel kind of the echoes of it, but I was losing it. And so I thought, okay, if every bite of food I eat is a bite of food that can feed my spirit, that space inside me, then I'll know I'm on the right track. But if I eat foods that make that less able for me to feel it, then that's going to take me off track. So I began, for the next year, I really focused on eating foods I'd never eaten before, because I felt, well, all the stuff I ate before made me fat, so let's eat something different now. So I discovered a world of fruits and vegetables and all those things that I didn't consider real food a year before. So let me tell you, it's not so important the fact that I lost 120 pounds or quit smoking or all of those things that happened during that next year. But one thing that it left me was this tremendous, unshakable experience that people have, that clear space within them, that if we open up to it and learn how to feel it, that can take us into all sorts of new places that we've never dreamed we could be before. And that's certainly been my experience. So it gave me an unshakable faith in the ability of human beings to transform themselves. That became the backbone of my life and work, because when I would sit down with a person, because I knew that it didn't matter that much what I talked about on the surface or what they talked about, because they were in that space of possibility then. And I began to see that that was the real gift I was giving people, and it came directly out of that experience.